Before you dive into the story, let me know where in this vast world you're reading from. Drop your city or country in the comments. I love seeing how far these tales of honor travel. You're not on the list, sir. And that patch looks like a kid sewed it. The young soldier barely glanced up from his clipboard, his tone clipped, robotic, like he'd repeated it all morning. Nathan Cole didn't flinch. He stood there, hat in hand, the breeze tugging at his coat's edge. His old uniform was pressed but faded, the right shoulder bearing a small patch Clara stitched with uneven thread by his wife before cancer claimed her. It was the only thing he'd ever let touch that sleeve. A younger officer smirked. "Sir, this is a closed military funeral. You need clearance to enter." Nathan said nothing, just adjusted the patch with one hand, his other a prosthetic, and stepped back from the gate. He stood just outside, back straight, boots together, eyes fixed on the folded flags beyond the iron bars. He wasn't here to cause a scene. He was here to say goodbye. If you believe no one should be treated this way, type honor below. Your voice matters more than you think. Nathan stayed put, just outside the black iron gate. The sun rose slowly, casting long shadows across the gravel. His posture held firm despite the ache in his leg. People in dress blues passed without a glance. A few guests flashed credentials and were waved through. Some looked his way, brief confusion, maybe pity, but no one stopped. A photographer adjusted his lens and pointedly turned away. Inside, white chairs filled quickly. Flags lined the path to the ceremonial canopy. A marine color guard rehearsed silently. Nathan glanced at the badge on his chest, faded, laminated, cracked, showing a photo from 20 years ago. His name, unit, discharge status. He offered it again to the same guard. The soldier didn't touch it. "Sir, that's not valid anymore. You're not on the list." "I came to honor a friend," Nathan said quietly. "Name of the deceased, General Thomas Reed." The guard tapped his tablet. "Do you have family relation?" "No. I served with him 34 years ago." The guard looked up, a mix of unease and indifference. "Sorry, sir. Without clearance, we can't make exceptions." Nathan nodded once. "I understand." He stepped back and waited. A gust of wind rattled the flags, lifting his coat to reveal the dull glint of his prosthetic leg. He smoothed the fabric down. An officer near the gate whispered to a colleague, who chuckled softly. Nathan heard but didn't turn. His eyes stayed fixed through the bars, past the assembling crowd, toward the stage. He'd been here before, not for this general, but for others whose names didn't make headlines, who got folded flags and sparse crowds. He wasn't here for pomp. He was here because he remembered, because Thomas Reed, bleeding beside him on a dirt road in Basra, had whispered, "Don't let them bury me alone." Nathan had kept that promise for 34 years. A group of young soldiers passed, laughing, tossing an energy drink. One noticed Nathan and paused. "Who let Grandpa out of the archives?" The others snickered. The speaker leaned closer, pointing at the patch. "What's that, a tribute or something?" Nathan didn't answer. He adjusted his collar, folded his hands, flesh and metal behind his back, and stood like a statue, too dignified to respond. The sun climbed higher, shadows sharpening through the bars. Inside, the ceremony began, the national anthem's faint notes carried by the wind, straightening spines whether anyone watched or not. Nathan didn't move, not when the honor guard presented arms, not when the first rifle volley cracked, not when the young soldiers returned. They wandered back, restless, trading glances. One held a glossy program, another snapped casual photos, smirking. They slowed, seeing Nathan still there, still silent. "Man," one muttered, "he hasn't moved." "That's dedication or dementia." The others laughed. The tallest, maybe early 20s, stepped closer, boots scraping gravel. He pointed at the patch. "Clara, was she your wife?" Nathan stayed quiet. "She make that for you? Looks like it's from a quilt." More careless laughter, not cruel but stinging. The soldier reached out, tapping the patch like it was a cheap trinket. The fabric shifted. Nathan's hand rose instinctively, not fast, not defensive, just enough to cover the name. Then he met the soldier's eyes, steady, not angry, not sad. The soldier's smirk faded. He stepped back. No one spoke. A nearby officer glanced over, saw it all, and turned back to his clipboard. Across the field, the ceremony went on, flags passed, words spoken, cameras clicking, dignitaries nodding. Nathan stood unacknowledged, uninvited. A moment later, the group drifted off, one muttering, another snorting. Nathan sat slowly on a low stone ledge, his legs stiff. He set his hat beside him, the prosthetic clicking faintly against the concrete. He exhaled, long and tired, then reached for the patch. He unclipped it carefully, hands trembling as he smoothed it flat in his lap, pressing out creases like it was sacred because it was. The stitches were uneven, the letters crooked, but each was Clara's, sewn with a hope he hadn't grasped until she was gone. He folded it once, twice, and tucked it against his chest. No cameras caught it. No one applauded. No one noticed except one man. A captain, standing quietly near the gate, had watched it all. His uniform was crisp, a bronze star pinned to his chest. He didn't speak or approach, just turned and headed for the command tent. Nathan stayed seated, not slumped, not defeated, just still. The patch rested in his pocket, close to his heart, his flesh hand guarding it. The ceremony's sounds drifted faintly, eulogies, commands, boots in sync. Out here, beyond the gates, there was only wind and memory. Nathan shifted, his leg throbbing, but he didn't show it. He straightened his pant leg, wiped dust from his prosthetic, and placed his cap back on, standing slowly, deliberately, at attention. No one ordered it. No one watched. But he stood as if Clara might be, as if Thomas Reed, in the polished casket 100 feet away, could still see the brother who'd pulled him from a burning Humvee under sniper fire in Basra's outskirts. He remembered Thomas's voice cracking not from pain, but disbelief. "You shouldn't have come back for me," Nathan had whispered. "She told me not to leave anyone behind." He never said her name, but Thomas always knew. Now, Nathan faced the flag-draped canopy in the distance, eyes clear. The breeze lifted his coat. This time, he let it. With no audience, no music, no command, he saluted, not crisp, his metal arms stiff, but perfect in meaning. A salute to a friend, a promise, a memory never surrendered. At that moment, the captain stepped into the command tent. His boots gleamed, posture rigid, but his voice was low. "Sir," he said, careful not to interrupt, "there's someone outside you'll want to see." The man at the tent's center turned hair gray, cropped close, metals lining his jacket, eyes sharp but softening at one name, Nathan Cole. A pause, a breath, then a nod, not an officer's command, but a man remembering a weight carried for decades. General William Hayes didn't wait for protocol. He handed his ceremonial binder to an aide, removed his white gloves, and stepped out with quiet urgency. The honor guard paused. Speakers faltered, unsure. Hayes crossed the aisle, not toward the podium or family seats, but across the grass, toward the gate, toward Nathan Cole. The crowd turned, whispering. Some stood, cameras shifting. No one understood why the highest-ranking officer was leaving his post mid-funeral until they saw what followed. Hayes stopped inches from Nathan. He didn't salute first. He looked at the man before him. Prosthetic leg, outdated uniform, standing without clearance for over an hour. Then, without a word, Hayes extended his hand, not in command, but reverence. "I heard you wouldn't come," he said quietly. "But he made me promise. If you showed up, it had to be you." Nathan blinked, the wind brushing his face. "Had to be me for what?" Hayes gestured behind him. An aide stepped forward, holding a polished wooden box, the urn, General Thomas Reed's remains. Nathan's breath caught. He wrote it in his final directive, Hayes said. Only one man could carry him to rest. Nathan's voice cracked, thin. "I thought they'd forgotten." Hayes shook his head, eyes glinting. "No, Sergeant. You're the reason he made it to 30. The reason we're burying the man we are today." He paused, leaning closer. "And I'm the reason he lived to meet his granddaughter." Nathan looked at the box, fingers trembling as he reached out. Hayes placed the urn in his hands, heavier than expected. Behind them, the assembly stood silent, on their feet. Nathan turned toward the central path, Hayes beside him, not leading, not following, but shoulder to shoulder. They walked through the gate, across the field, toward the altar. No band played. No press shouted, just the hush of uniforms and reverent steps as soldiers, young and old, stood at attention. Some saluted, some placed hands over hearts. Nathan carried the urn like his oath, not for recognition, but because it was right. Hayes leaned in, whispering, "I was there, Nathan." "Basra." Second radio operator. You pulled me out too. Nathan didn't answer. He walked. And in that moment, the silence became sacred. If you believe dignity always finds its voice, even in silence, subscribe now. It's how we honor what must never be forgotten. The final stretch of grass seemed endless. Nathan walked, earned steady in his arms. The breeze softened, sunlight filtering through clouds, bathing the field in muted glow. He didn't hear the whispers, didn't notice the cameras, the dignitaries, the glinting brass. All he saw was the casket platform ahead, the folded flag waiting. Beside him, Hayes matched his pace in silence. Halfway through, Nathan noticed them, the young soldiers who'd laughed earlier, now at rigid attention, unforced. As he passed, the one who'd touched the patch stepped slightly forward and whispered, "Sir, I'm sorry." Nathan didn't stop, but nodded, the apology outweighing the insult. At the platform, Nathan placed the urn on the marble pedestal above the flag, removed his cap, and rested his palm on the box. He stepped back. No applause, no anthem, just stillness. Then, veterans in civilian clothes stood slowly across the crowd. Some saluted, others removed hats. An old man gripped his cane, standing unsupported, legs shaking. A woman in a dress uniform, silver hair under her beret, stood tall and whispered, "Welcome home." Nathan blinked, not from the wind, but from the weight of it all. The ceremony closed with a rifle salute, taps ringing slow and clear, each note sinking deep. When it ended, Hayes turned to Nathan. "I know you didn't want recognition," he said quietly. Nathan glanced down. "It was never about being seen." "I know," Hayes replied, "but some things deserve to be remembered." An hour later, as chairs folded and guests dispersed, a small group lingered near a simple bronze plaque at an oak tree's base, newly placed. It read, "In honor of Staff Sergeant Nathan Cole and Clara Cole." Because honor is not given, it's carried. No statue, no podium, just truth. Nathan stood by the tree, fingers brushing the bark. He pulled the patch from his pocket, bent down, and buried it in the soil, a gesture no one ordered, but one that spoke louder than words. Hayes stood beside him. "They'll come here," Nathan said. Hayes nodded. "They already are." Nathan turned to Levino's speeches. No waves, just quiet steps down the gravel path. This time, when people looked, they didn't stare, they stood. Some uniforms fade, but some men never do. If you typed honor, thank you. If you subscribed, welcome. If this story moved you, remember, we stand together, even in silence. See you in the next one.